and either the foot or parking brake is applied. Then we turn the ignition key clockwise until we hear the starter turn. When we hear the engine start, we release it right away. Otherwise, it could damage the starter. We're ready to go. With the right foot on the brake, we move the shift lever directly to drive. In most cars, the lever won't budge unless the brake is applied. Then we release the parking brake and gently depress the accelerator. We keep the heel on the floor and press down gradually with the toes. As the car begins to move, we press down a little more until we are accelerating at a comfortable rate. When we reach the speed we want, we ease up on the accelerator until we are just holding that speed. Steering. It all starts with the grip. With the hands on opposite sides of the wheel, we can turn it without changing our grip. Most of the time, we can steer with the hands in this position, following the road. Changing lanes. Handling curves. Even swerving when we have to. Turns are something else. For gentle turns, we use push-pull steering. One hand pushes up, the other pulls down. For sharper turns, the hand-over-hand technique is best. Different cars steer differently. Each car has its own feel that takes a little getting used to. It's best to drive slowly while we're feeling out a car.
Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test. Another quick tip for Road Test Smart. Steering wheel hand position. For the purposes of a road test, you must keep both hands on the steering wheel at all times. Unless you're driving a manual, the only time you can take your hand off the steering wheel is when you need to shift. So shift the gear and then immediately put your hand back on the steering wheel. As a driving instructor, if I had that on a recording, 2 hands on the steering wheel, driver, every time. 2 hands on the steering wheel for the purposes of a road test. 10 and 2, 9 and 3, either of those is acceptable as well. Current theory is that it's 8 and 4 down here at the bottom. Unfortunately, on this steering wheel on my Honda CR-V, it is not comfortable because the steering wheel is broken up here, and I'll take a picture of that and show it to you so that it's not comfortable down here. The reason for 8 and 4 is airbags. If the airbag deploys, it's not going to injure your arms, your forearms. So the reason 10 and 2 up here is perfectly acceptable. For turning corners, hand over hand. So bring your hand over and I'll do a demonstration. I'll show you how to do that. You can do hand to hand, but in many circumstances it's just too slow. Hand over hand is much quicker and it's perfectly acceptable on a road test. As well, when you come around a corner and you turn, you don't have to manipulate the steering wheel back. Simply open your hands, keep your palms in contact with the steering wheel. When the steering wheel stops coming back, simply close your hands. I'm Rick with Smart Drive Test. If you like what you see here, share, subscribe, leave a comment down in the comment section. All that helps us out. Remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great day. Good luck on your road test. Bye now.
Some lane changes are a little more difficult. For example, leaving the curb to enter a lane of travel. Because it will take time to get on the road and up to speed, we need a clear lane for some distance back. But from inside the car, we can't see that lane very well. The left mirror doesn't show enough of it. Here, we need to turn around and get a good look. Looks okay now. Uh-oh, people on bikes can be hard to see, particularly near the edge of the road. at last.
Okay, so we know how to make the car go, and go where we want. Now, how do we bring it to a stop? Well, that's one way. Causes a lot of wear to the brakes, though, to say nothing of the passengers. The key to smooth stopping is looking far enough ahead to begin slowing early. Ease up on the accelerator. Apply the brake gently at first and increase pressure gradually until the car is slowing as much as we want it to. Then, easing up on the brake just before coming to a stop will make for a smooth stop. While we're stopped, we keep the foot on the brake so the car won't move forward. It also keeps the brake lights on so cars coming up from behind can see that we're stopped. And if we should ever be struck from behind, the brakes may keep us from being pushed out into traffic. The transmission is still in drive, so when we're ready to go again, we repeat the process. Home again. Now just a few steps to make sure the car doesn't run away without us. After we stop, we set the parking brake and put the shift lever in park. We do this right away so that our mind connects stopping the car with the shift to park. Now we can turn the engine off. Trip over. Not quite. This too should be automatic. Now the trip is over.
Getting there fast is why we drive instead of walk, and it's why we have highways like these. They let people get from one place to another quickly. The same for the goods they use. Unfortunately, not all the fast driving occurs on highways that can handle it. Driving too fast is involved in over 1.5 million crashes each year. Speed also makes any accident worse. As speed increases from 55 to 65 miles per hour, the chances of dying in any crash double. And from 55 to 75, they triple. Why does speed increase our chances of a crash? Well, the faster we are going, the longer it will take to stop if we have to. Like if someone pulls out in front of us. It will take us about a second to react and get our foot on the brake. That's pretty universal. Young people don't react any quicker than old people. At 60 miles an hour, we'll travel about 90 feet. Once we get the brakes applied, it's a contest between the brakes and the momentum of the car.
At 60 miles per hour, it'll take about another 180 feet to stop. Obviously, that's too long.
Let's see how this stop works in real time. Only this time, the car won't actually come all the way into our lane. If that car had been in front of us, there's no more helpless feeling than having your foot on the brake while you just keep on going. While reaction distance increases at the same rate as speed, braking distance increases at a much faster rate. A vehicle going 40 miles per hour needs 3 times as much distance to stop as one traveling 20 miles per hour, not twice as much. The braking distance required for a vehicle going 60 miles per hour is 9 times that of a vehicle going 20 miles per hour. The other thing that speed does is to make the car difficult to handle. We're much too close to stop, but the left lane is open, and at 35 miles an hour, we can easily swerve around it. However, look what happens at 60. Actually, as often as not, the driver loses control and ends up in a ditch or around a pole. In a typical year, about 250,000 drivers lose control and crash trying to swerve.
Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test. Another quick tip for Road Test Smart. Had a comment from Chel Zami. He wanted to know how long he had to wait at a stop sign intersection after he came to a stop. I told him that there isn't an amount of time that you need to wait at any period of time. He simply had to bring the vehicle to a complete stop. Unlike most of the vehicles behind me that you can see here, they don't come to a complete stop. The wheels never stop turning. So how do you know that you're at a complete stop? Any vehicle is comprised of two main parts, the body and the chassis. The chassis is comprised of the wheels, the axles, and the suspension. And what happens is that the body is attached to the chassis via the suspension. When you brake the vehicle, the body actually moves forward of the chassis. And just before you come to a complete stop, you need to release the brake just before the vehicle comes to a complete stop, allow the body to settle back on the chassis, and then reapply the brake and come to a complete stop. When the body actually kind of moves backwards, you kind of feel it in the vehicle, that's when you know the vehicle has come to a complete stop. So when you've come to a complete stop at the correct position at a stop signed intersection, before the stop line, before the sidewalk, or where the two roads meet, and I'll put a card up here for you for the complete video on stopping positions at stop signed intersections. So you bring the vehicle to a complete stop at the correct stopping position, and if you can't see the cross traffic or can't see the intersection, then you need to creep forward, treat it as a yield, and give the right of way to other road users in the intersections, pedestrian, cycles, people on scooters and whatnot. Give the right of way, and then once the way is clear, you can proceed after you have stopped. Now, behind me here you can see there's a four-way stop, and again I'll put a video up here for you for right of ways at four-way stops because it's a little bit different. First person to arrive, or if you're in doubt, the car on the right, but it's a little more complicated than that, and the video will explain that, so check that video out as well. Question for my smart drivers: how do you know that your vehicle has come to a complete stop? And this is going to help out the people who are going for a road test, because on a road test at controlled intersections, you got to bring the vehicle to a complete stop. Leave a comment down in the comment section there. That helps out all the new drivers endeavoring to get their license. I'm Rick with Smart Drive Test. Thanks very much for watching. If you like what you see here, share, subscribe, leave a comment down in the comment section. As well, hit that thumbs up button. If you're working towards getting your license, check out the videos below. Lots of great information there. Lots of other videos on the channel that will help you be successful in that endeavor. If you're on a mobile device, check out the cards in the upper right hand corner here. Those two will give you links to all the videos on the channel, as well links to my website, practice driving test questions, and online driving courses. Check that out as well. Thanks again for watching. Good luck on your road test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great day. Bye now. Hi there, Rick with Smart Drive Test, talking to you today about the stop sign. For the purposes of a road test, you need to stop at the correct position at a stop sign intersection. There are 3 positions. We'll let you know what those are in a minute. Hi there, welcome back. Rick talking to you today about the 3 stopping positions at stop signs that you need to know for the purposes of a road test. The first stopping position is just before the stop line. The front tires must stop just before the stop line. The second position is before the crosswalk. If there's no crosswalk painted on the roadway, then before the sidewalk. And the third stopping position is where the 2 roads meet. And the vehicle must come to a complete stop. Unlike the fact that most people at stop sign intersections do not come to a complete stop, for the purposes of a road test, you must come to a complete stop. The way that you can tell the vehicle is at a complete stop, the body will settle back over the chassis of the vehicle when you come to a complete stop. You'll feel it sort of set back because the vehicle is 2 pieces, and as you brake, the body moves forward of the chassis. When you come to a complete stop, it'll settle back over the chassis. That's how you know you come to a complete stop. If you stop at the correct position at the stop sign intersection and you can't see oncoming traffic, stop at the correct position, then treat it as a yield. Move forward until you can see, and when the way is clear, you can proceed. So the 3 stopping positions at a stop sign intersection: before the stop line, just the front tires just before the stop line, before the crosswalk lines, if there's no crosswalk lines, before the sidewalk, and finally before where the 2 roads meet. If you can't see when you stop at the correct stopping position at the stop sign intersection, treat it, come to a complete stop at the correct stopping position, and then treat it as a yield. Move forward until you can see, and then proceed when the way is clear. I'm Rick with Smart Drive Test. Thanks for watching. If you like the channel, subscribe below. Have a great day. Bye now.
A lot of people fail the drive test because they just simply fail to stop. Instead of stopping the car completely, they roll right through and the drive test is over. So let's take a few minutes and look at how to make a proper, complete, and legal stop. One thing that's really helpful when you're making your legal stops is to make sure that you stop completely behind the line. And you can do this by using reference points. Reference points allow you to accurately position your vehicle. To set up reference points in your own vehicle, pull up behind a stop line or a curb, somewhere within about a foot. At that point, you're going to want to look and see where the beginning of the line or the bottom of the curb intersects your door. Place a sticker at that point, or remember a landmark, like your side mirror or the door handle, wherever it lines up. This point now represents where your front bumper is, and you can use it to park accurately. So on your drive test, they require to see how well you do on your legal stops. So one key is to identify your legal stops way ahead of time. So use high aim vision to look ahead and identify where the stop sign or the red light's going to be. And that way, as you come up to the stop sign, you're prepared. You can start braking early, smoothly squeezing the brake, and squeeze all the way down until you completely stop behind the line. So a really common mistake is that as people come up to the stop lines, they start slowing, and then right about the time they're stopped, they just keep on rolling. They almost have it, but they do a rolling stop. So instead, what you want to do is, as you approach, slow smoothly, and right about the time you see the stop line, show up near your reference point, make a complete stop, and if it helps, take a quick breath, and then go. Make sure that you are stopped 100%, and that the car is not moving one bit. So now that all your stops are legal and behind the line, you should have no problem passing that part of your drive test.
Hi there, smart drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you today about Road Test Smart. Quick tip that you need to know: covering the brake. What is covering the brake? When you identify a hazard that could potentially cause conflict with you on the roadway, you need to put your foot over the brake pedal. As you can see here in the image, the person is just putting their foot over the brake pedal. They're not actually engaging the brake or putting the brake on. They're just putting their foot over the brake until the hazard passes or they pass the hazard. That way it cuts down the reaction time from moving your foot from the accelerator to the brake, and you are ready if something materializes or that hazard becomes a problem. The other thing that you can do in terms of covering the brake that helps to reduce that reaction time is increasing your following distance. If you see a hazard that materializes, you simply take your foot off the accelerator, the vehicle begins to slow, and you put your foot over the brake to cover the brake. Don't actually apply the brake. Lots of drivers that I see who are upgrading to a higher class license use the brake way too much. When you use the brake too much, it increases fuel consumption, because every time you slow that vehicle down, you got to get it going again. So reduce your use of the brake by simply covering the brake, and this is an imperative skill for a road test. When you're on a road test and you're going through an intersection and you're not quite sure that there might be vehicles coming from the other direction, just cover the brake as you're going through, and that cuts down your reaction time. If you like what you see here, subscribe, share, leave a comment down in the comment section. All of that helps us out. I'm Rick with Smart Drive Test. Remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great day. Bye now.
Now to a more difficult maneuver. It's a bit tricky and can be dangerous. First, we need to be able to see where we're going. The only way to get a good view of the area behind the car is to turn around and look at it. We place the left hand at 12 o'clock on the steering wheel, the right hand over the back of the passenger seat, and twist around to see straight through the rear window. We want to go very slowly. It's harder to see, and the car is harder to control. We just slip the transmission into reverse and let the engine idle the car backward. We'll go plenty fast enough, and it leaves the right foot free to use the brake. To back in a straight line, we can imagine a point directly behind us and adjust the steering to back toward it. In reverse, the car will turn in the direction the steering wheel is turned, just like going forward. To back that direction, turn the wheel in the same direction. To turn that direction, turn the wheel that direction. While the car steers the same in both directions, there is one difference. The car is now being steered by the front wheels. When we back, it's really the front end of the car that's turning. The back goes left because the front swings right, sort of like a wagging tail. While we need to see behind us, it pays to stop for a moment to see what the front end is doing. This is especially true when backing out of a parking space. As long as we're moving slowly, we'll have time to make corrections. Some cars are not as quick to stop going backward. We need to allow for that and start braking a little earlier. Having to look over the right shoulder makes us blind to anything coming from our left. While we're stopped, we need to take a good look. No one coming.
Hi there, smart drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test. Another quick tip for Road Test Smart. Reversing for the purposes of a road test. You will have to demonstrate that you can reverse for the purposes of a road test. Many instructors, if you go to a driving school and take you down to the road test office, will get you to back into the parking space. And when you go out for your road test, oftentimes the examiner will get you to back into the space that you drove out of when you left the driving examination office. So you will have to demonstrate that you can back up. First and foremost, you don't have to wear a seatbelt when you're backing up for a road test or any other time. So take your seatbelt off so that you can move your body in the position that you need to move it into for reversing. Hand on the top of the steering wheel, your right hand on the back of the passenger seat, and turn your bum so it's almost 90 degrees in the driver's seat so that you can look straight out the back window. And you want to turn your head so that you can look straight out the back window. And you want to be looking the whole time that you have the vehicle in reverse. So looking straight out the back window for the purposes of a road test with a car or light truck. As well, when you're reversing, go slowly. Go very slowly. The slower you go, the sharper the vehicle turns. As well, if you get close to something, you have a greater reaction time because you're going slowly, and it's less likely that you're going to hit something, so you have more time to operate and move the primary controls of the vehicle. So always back slowly. You don't have to have your seatbelt on, and make sure that you look before you start backing up. The number one cause for backing accidents is people moving the vehicle before they look. I'm Rick with Smart Drive Test. Thanks very much for watching. If you like what you see here, share, subscribe, leave a comment down in the comment section. All of that helps us out. As well, check out the videos below. Check out the cards up in the corner here. All of those will help you pass a road test. I'm Rick with Smart Drive Test. Good luck in your road test. Remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great day. Bye now.
Before we hit the road, let's make sure your car is safe. Why don't we get in? Looks like you've got good tires, 2 rear view mirrors, brake lights, front and rear turn signals, seat belts, an emergency brake, a horn,
and a clean windshield with no obstructions or cracks. You need 2 more things.
Gasoline and road map?
That would help.
but on the legal side, you need current registration and proof of insurance. On the safety side, you also need to be familiar with your vehicle. So can you show me your headlight switch, windshield wipers, front defroster, emergency hazard lights?
And do you know your arm signals?
Of course. There's right, left, and stop.
Excellent. I think we're ready to go.
Dangerous days for teens begin this week. We're talking about summer vacation when more young drivers are on the road.
Yeah, before this newscast is over, consider this. A North Carolina teen will be in a car crash. We know this because it happens every 23 minutes. Tonight, Sharon Smith is on your side to keep your teenage driver safe.
June 15th, 2006, a 16-year-old girl loses control of her car and crashes into a tree. Same week, another 16-year-old runs a red light and crashes. June 26th, an 18-year-old street racing with a friend loses control, flips her car 5 times. It's a picture we see all too often. Teenagers and reckless driving. It's dangerous, sometimes deadly. And troopers like Mark Helms see it a lot more this time of year.
This is a tough time. The summer months means that we're going to have increased traffic and higher speeds.
Statewide, police and troopers worked more than 21,000 teenage driving accidents last year. And in 134 cases, either that teenage driver or passenger never made it home.
The number one cause of teenagers being involved in car crashes is high speed and inexperience behind the wheel.
State lawmakers took action. A new law bans teenagers from dialing and driving at the same time. Another law limits their number of passengers. Seems like some either don't know or don't care. When we staked out a local high school, we found plenty of students breaking the law. Time after time, teenagers driving and yapping on their cell phones. And this kid decides to do a little hands-free driving, dancing in a car full of friends.
If we see that, we'll pull them over. It is a traffic infraction.
There is only one exception for teens to be on the phone and driving at the same time.
Unless they're calling the police, the fire department, or it's an emergency use only.
In Charlotte, Sharon Smith, WBTV News 3.
Bottom line for you parents at home, more than half of teens who get into accidents are either talking on those phones or speeding. The best advice to all drivers, slow down and try to avoid